I am Watch Sergeant Kalen of the Death Watch. My oath is clear, my mind trained against doubt, and yet I begin with this impossible fact. The Watch Fortress Oath, unyielding, sealed itself from the inside. No servitor engaged the lock runes. No magos gave sanction. The fortress itself, a citadel of adamant and stasis-wrapped vigilance, turned its own gates against the Imperium it was built to defend. This I record, that others may understand what we found there, though understanding will not deliver them from dread. We came in silence, borne by a black ship to the edge of the veiled moor. The void around Oath Unyielding was ash-grey, as though the stars themselves were smothered. I remember the silence most. The Vox should have been alive with beacon codes, liturgies of welcome, machine prayers chanted by tech priests across the docking bridges. Instead, nothing. A silence so absolute it made my helm plate hum with pressure, as though the absence of sound itself pressed inward. Brother Garin muttered an oath, low and ritual. Brother Librarian Seraphis countered with litany, each word falling sharp. We advanced in boarding formation, shields locked, weapons raised, expecting a breach. And yet it was the fortress itself that opposed us, not any Xenos. The great gates of adamantine, carved with 10,000 oaths of vigil, were locked. Not by Mechanicus encryption, not by explosives or sabotage. They were sealed with a ritual unrecorded in any Imperial archive. Sigils burned across their surface, black and shifting. Even as I looked, I swore they moved, as though each oath writhed alive. The Mechanicus adepts accompanying us hissed through vox grills, Binharic staccato sharp and panicked. No protocol, no origin. This seal is not of Mars. We drew close. The metal radiated not heat nor cold, but something worse. An absence of temperature. The surface drained sensation, as if even reality recoiled from it. It was then the first impossible sound came, chanting. From behind the sealed gate, human voices, sonorous and rhythmic. A litany of the Watch versus every Death Watch brother knows, the oath of eternal vigil, spoken before every deployment. But the fortress was supposed to be empty. No kill teams had answered our summons. No human tongue could have been there to chant. And yet they did. Hundreds of them. We held weapons steady, scanning for comms hack, hallucination, psycho distortion. Seraphis closed his eyes, his psychic hood flaring, and whispered the truth. These are no living voices. They are echoes. We prepared breach charges. Duty demanded it. The fortress could not be left in silence, not with its vaults filled with relics, data codices and sarcophagi of Astartes. But before explosives were set, the gate opened. Without code, without runes, without the Mechanicus. It opened as if welcoming us. The vast adamantine slabs folded aside with liquid grace, impossibly silent, as though the fortress itself were eager for us to enter. Inside lay the Hall of Oaths. It should have been blazing with lumen fires, relic cases lit by holy light, servitors chanting records of victories past. Instead, only dimness. The walls, carved with oaths sworn by brothers of 1,000 chapters, gleamed wet in our lumen glare. At first I thought them polished. Then I saw the truth. The carved oaths bled. A thin, black ichor seeped from the words, running in rivulets across the stone. The Mechanicus adept fell to his knees, static spilling from his vox box. Impossible. Metal does not bleed. Brother Garin tested it with his gauntlet. His armor hissed as though acid had touched it. The black fluid evaporated, leaving no mark, yet Garin swore it stole his warmth. Our steps echoed unnaturally loud as we advanced. The silence between beats was too deep, too hollow. I kept my helm vox open, logging every sensory detail. My duty was not only to survive but to record, that others might understand this threat. But understanding does not bring safety. It was then that the impossible happened again. An armor stood before us. Mark 7 plate, blackened, adorned with the silver arm of the Death Watch. At first, I thought it was a fallen brother, frozen in vigil, but no life signs pulsed within. The armor was empty, visor dark, yet it moved. Slowly, deliberately, it turned its helm toward us. Its vox grill crackled, spitting fragments of the same chant we had heard behind the gate. Vigil eternal, oath unbroken, 9 remain, 9 remain. Its bolter rose. No hand guided it, no flesh pulled the trigger, and yet the weapon came alive in its grasp, aimed squarely at us. The impossible fact I began with was only the first. The watch fortress had sealed itself. But worse, it had learned to walk without men inside it. The gates had yielded, yet the fortress did not welcome us with the expected warmth of machinery or the faint buzz of servo-assisted servitors. Instead, we entered a hall older than memory, older than the orders of Mars, a place that hummed with a resonance no liturgy should carry. This was the Hall of Oaths, a long gallery of black stone, carved with the names and deeds of Death Watch brothers who had taken the eternal vigil before us. Normally the hall glowed faintly from embedded lumens and reflected the pride of centuries. Now it was dim, suffocating, a shadow drenched in absence. Every step we took echoed too long, then too short, as though the stone beneath us warped its own acoustics to our tread. I led the kill team forward, bolter muzzles up. Brother Garin muttered prayers beneath his breath, sharp enough to be heard in the empty air. Tech Adept Mero scanned the walls with a Binharic analyzer, frowning. No vox feed, no recorded resonance. Yet, it sings, explaining it won't save your life, I said. Eyes open. Every brother alert the first anomaly revealed, itself in the carvings. Names etched into the stone, oaths sworn in blood and faith, glimmered faintly, black ichor crawling along the grooves like it were alive. A familiar name caught my eye. Brother Coral of the Raven's Watch, dead 50 cycles ago on Corvus Vex. And yet, his oath. It pulsed as though freshly made. I felt it first in my chest, the temperature drained away. Not cold, not void chill, but inverse warmth, as if the life within me was being siphoned. My respirator hissed faintly in protest. Garen's voice trembled. By the Emperor, this is impossible. Above us, the ceiling arches quivered, not from pressure or tremor, but as though the stone itself breathed. We advanced carefully, bolters at the ready, eyes scanning the shadows where lumens should have illuminated. Then came the vox spike. A whisper, faint at first, then louder, reverberating inside our helms. The oath of eternal vigil. Low Gothic, every word precise, every pause measured, every vow unmistakably ours. The voices did not belong to any brother in this kill team. The resonance was outside, inside, and all around. I froze. This was no vox hack, no psycho hallucination. This was the hall itself chanting. And worse, each voice spoke our personal oaths. I could hear my own words, whispered back at me in an unfamiliar timbre, almost mocking, almost pleading. Mero spun, scanning for interference. It's not projected. Not even a psychic echo. The stone, it's transmitting directly to your helmets, to your minds. Your minds, Garen repeated, his voice trembling. It knows us. I did not respond. Commands would mean nothing here. Duty demanded calm, but even I, a veteran of countless boarding operations, felt the unease of a soldier unmoored. The first interactive anomaly emerged when a suit of Mark 7 armor rose from the wall niche, empty, pristine, and blackened by centuries. I could see the faint glow of engraved Death Watch sigils along the vambraces, the silver arm gleaming even in dim light. It moved, slowly, deliberately, turning to face us. Its vox grill crackled. The same chant, the oath, repeated in partial fragments. Vigil eternal, Oath unbroken. 9 remain. 9 remain. Bolters raised, triggers armed. Mero hesitated. It should be inanimate. It has no human inside. Garen's hand shook as he aimed. I could feel the hairs on my neck stand. This is not a test, I said. If it fires, it kills, but there will be nothing inside to strike. Understand that the armor raised its bolter, not jerked by servos, not wielded by a hand. It obeyed commands from some force unknown. Even the air seemed to resist our advance. I gave the command to fire. The hall erupted in light and sound, bolter rounds tearing through plate. Shards of ceramite struck stone, bounced and scattered, only to twitch after impact. Pieces of the armor reassembled in mid-fall, reshaping themselves, rising and turning again to face us. Every round we fired, the armor remembered and obeyed. Every fragment acted as one. The impossible truth settled in. The Hall of Oaths did not merely preserve memory, it replicated it, bending the rules of flesh, of armor, and of reality itself. A low hum began to vibrate the stone beneath our boots. Not machinery, not warp. Something older, something alive. A resonance that penetrated bone and sinew, threading into the marrow of every brother present. Mero's voice broke. It's feeding on us. On our oaths, I recognized then what the fortress had become. A predator dressed in stone, a machine not merely of iron but of faith, ritual, and memory. Every name carved in the hall, every vow, every brother long dead, all were engines in its hunger, and we were the newest offerings. I took a step forward. The kill team flinched, but I pressed. Duty demanded observation, recording, and if possible, survival. The hall seemed to inhale, shadows shifting across glyphs that I knew intimately, yet now felt alien. Then, a new sound, subtle, almost lost under the hum, a numeric chant, not words, not oaths, but numbers repeating in uneven cadence. 1, 2, 9. 1, 2, 9. I recognized it instantly. The same numbers had been whispered in dreams of every brother I had ever trained with. Not prophecy, not luck, memory corrupted. The fortress itself, counting something. And then the Hall of Oaths revealed the final impossibility of that night. A suit of armor stepped forward from the shadows, fully assembled, bolter raised, empty, and yet it acted. Its gaze, visor dark, deathly, followed us. Its first act was deliberate, to point the bolter at us. I ordered halt. No brother moved, even Garen could not act. Mero's analyzer shorted in protest, lights flickering, as if reality itself had hiccuped. I understood. The fortress did not want us to enter or leave. It wanted us to witness, to participate, to swear again, or be unmade. The Hall of Oaths was alive, and it had just claimed our attention as its first prize. The first suit of armor fell to bolter fire, or so I thought. Its fragments scattered across the Hall of Oaths, jagged shards of ceramite clattering against black stone. But the impossible truth was immediate. Each shard twitched. The armor, or what it had become, reassembled in moments, rising from its own broken pieces, as if the act of destruction itself were a ritual feeding the hall. I took a deep breath through my respirator, forcing calm. Keep your heads. Every shard you destroy, it learns from Garen's hands shook. Sergeant, what is this? What is it? I could not answer, not truthfully. We had crossed a threshold where comprehension failed. We advanced, careful to maintain formation. The Hall of Oaths twisted perception, shadows bent at angles the way geometry of stone should not allow. Pillars of obsidian gleamed faintly, reflecting lights that did not exist. My mind screamed to map the space, to record coordinates, to apply tactical grids. Yet each calculation became meaningless the moment the fortress decided otherwise. Mero, the tech adept, worked furiously, scanning the walls with his binharic analyzer. Streams of data erupted in broken syntax, words half-translated, memory graphed, echo of oath, recursive imprint. What does it mean? I asked. He shook his head. It is not a machine. Not fully. It is copying, learning, and your oath, all our oaths, are part of its programming. I glanced at my brothers. Their faces were pale, even beneath helmets, eyes darting, lips moving in whispered prayers. Some spoke litanies aloud without intent, as though the hall compelled them to do so. I recorded every detail, knowing this log might be all that remained if we did not survive. A new phenomenon emerged, voices, overlapping. They were fragments of oaths long past, the personal pledges of brothers who had served and died centuries ago. Every member of the kill team recognized the words, their own thoughts mirrored back with distortion. The air seemed to vibrate with syllables I could not block, penetrating the mind directly. Brother Garin fired his bolter into the nearest wall, hoping to silence it. The echo did not stop. In fact, the wall responded. Small glyphs shimmered where the rounds struck, as if the stone itself absorbed the sound and fed it back. Mero stepped back, pale. It's communicating with us. With the essence of our memories, I realized the Hall of Oaths did not merely preserve history. It replicated it, bending memory and faith into fuel. Every vow we had sworn in life, every oath etched into our souls, was now a resource for the fortress itself. The most horrifying moment came when a suit of Mark VII armor, empty yet animate, stepped out of a niche. I had seen this before, but now I understood it fully. The armor moved independently, raised its bolter, and fired. Not at us. At the floor. A piece of stone erupted like molten metal and reformed instantly into the shape of a kneeling figure. I recognized the impossibility. The Hall of Oaths was writing new matter, rewriting physical space according to the faith and fear it extracted from us. Mero shouted over the vox. It's a memory-driven construct. Each act, each perception, each oath we give it, it incorporates, reconstructs, and reanimates. This hall is alive in the very sense we swore to suppress. I barked orders, forcing bolters up. Do not fire unless we are engaged. Observation first, recording first, duty first. We pressed deeper into the hall, the walls now alive with flickering glyphs that spoke in no known language. Every inscription seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat, and I could swear they murmured secrets of my own past failures. I pressed on, knowing that hesitation might lead to annihilation, but each step felt like walking into a predator's maw. A new horror revealed itself. The kill team began hearing their own thoughts aloud, spoken by the walls. Brother Garin flinched as a whisper echoed his most private fear. You failed at Corvus Vex. You abandoned your post. You swore a false oath. I could feel my own resolve faltering. The fortress did not merely trap the body. It assaulted the soul. My own inner thoughts were weaponized against me, folded into the architecture of terror. We arrived at the Vox Sanctum, a chamber of humming, dormant machines and service racks. Normally these were tools, obedient and inert. Now they throbbed with faint pulses. Lights flickered in patterns too regular to be random, too deliberate to be mere electrical anomaly. Mero approached the central console, scanning with tremulous precision. It's broadcasting, he said, directly into our neural implants. Every oath, every ritual, every recorded thought, it's feeding the hall. It learns from us, Sergeant. It is the living memory of the Watch, and it is hungry, I realized then, the stark truth. The fortress was not just a location, not just stone and machinery. It was a predator that fed on faith, ritual, and obedience, and it had recognized us as its newest prey. Then came the Vox spike, sudden, jagged, slicing through even the armored mind. Words, commands, names, not random, our names, each brother's true, secret oath whispered in a timbre, both familiar and alien. Garin spun violently. I hear my chapter master. He speaks to me. He orders me to kneel. I felt my own resolve tested. The air felt heavier, almost sentient. Every breath carried the weight of the hall's attention. The walls themselves seemed to lean toward us, listening. The impossible was absolute. The fortress knew us better than we knew ourselves. I had no choice but to order continued movement. Duty demanded observation, documentation, and survival. Each corridor twisted. Hallways stretched impossibly long. Shadows moved at angles that made no sense. And always, that whispering chorus of oaths echoed from the walls, guiding, mocking, tempting. The Hall of Oaths was alive, and it was learning. I did not know what it would do next, but I knew one fact with terrifying clarity. Anything we attempted, to fire, to flee, to resist, would only feed it further. And it hungered still. The Hall of Oaths gave way to a chamber unlike any I had known. The air grew heavier, thicker, scented faintly of burnt iron and antiseptic. Frost streaked the black stone in impossible geometric patterns, forming jagged angles that obeyed no natural law. The chamber's far end held rows upon rows of sarcophagi, long-term interments of Deathwatch brothers, warriors who had lain in eternal vigil for centuries. I felt the first chill of true dread as we stepped closer. Normally, such vaults were sacred, sealed, and cold with stasis. Here, they moved. Not visibly, but the stone hummed in resonance with our footsteps. The carvings on the sarcophagi shifted when looked at from different angles, as though alive, rewriting themselves with names and dates I did not recognize. Brother Garin whispered sharply, voice taut. Sergeant, these names, they're wrong. Some are future names, dates that have not yet occurred. I examined one coffin in the center. The inscription glimmered faintly under lumen light. Brother Kalen, my name, my own bloodline. I recoiled. Impossible, I murmured. Mero, scanning the chamber with a Binharik probe, growled in disbelief. Time is not linear here. The sarcophagi are grafting alternate outcomes into reality. Past, present, and potential future overlap. The oaths, they resonate with what will happen, not only what has occurred. A sudden vibration reverberated through the floor. A sarcophagus cracked along its seam. Dust and ichor mingled as the lid rose just slightly. Inside was not a corpse as I expected. The form was incomplete, sinew and armor twisted unnaturally, bone rearranged like gears in a machine. Its visage seemed familiar. Too familiar. The kill team froze. Brother Librarian Seraphis whispered a litany, trying to anchor himself, yet his words trembled. It recognizes us. The dead recognize the living, I could not deny it. One by one, the sarcophagi trembled. A black ichor seeped from the inscriptions, pooling in shapes that suggested faces, hands, reaching for us. The air became oppressive, as if the chamber itself exhaled the memories of 1,000 dead brothers. The first attack was subtle. One of the younger kill team brothers, hesitant, stepped too close. The sarcophagus lid shifted violently, and he stumbled backward, screaming. But no hand struck him, no weapon. Only the impossible motion of the stone itself, animated by oaths and ritual. I aimed my bolter, but the usual snap of plasma rounds seemed muted. The projectiles splintered against the stone, only to reassemble mid-air in unnatural arcs. Each attack fed the chamber, teaching it the limits of our violence. The lesson was clear. Resistance was fuel. Garin muttered, voice shaking. By the Emperor, we are trespassing in something that remembers us better than we remember ourselves. Then came the most horrifying revelation. One sarcophagus, unmistakable, central, began to pulse, its stone surface rippling like liquid. Inside, the shape of a Deathwatch veteran, Brother Kale, long dead in the Korvax purge, crouched, fully armored, bolter fused to his gauntlet. The creature did not speak. It did not move at first. Yet I knew its gaze was upon us, piercing through our helms, reading the very marrow of our bones. I ordered formation, bolters up, but the creature did not attack. Instead, it spoke in a voice that echoed the chamber itself, low and resonant. You are bound. Every oath, every pledge, every whisper of faith. I know it. I am it. And so will you become. The words were no mere threat. They were a prophecy. Brother Garin faltered, mumbling that he could hear the voices of his own dead squadmates, long buried on distant worlds. They are alive, he stammered, not in flesh, not in mind, but in here. In this chamber, Mero adjusted his probe. It is feeding. Every recognition, every memory, every fear. It's grafting them into reality. The sarcophagi are not vessels. They are templates, each of you, reflected, rewritten, waiting to be absorbed. A whispering filled the hall, overlapping the mechanical hum of the fortress. Oaths repeated, broken, reconstructed. I recognized fragments of my own past vows, the promise to the Emperor never to abandon my brethren, the pledge to uphold vigilance at all costs, even death. They were being used against me. The chamber was teaching me a terrible lesson. In the Deathwatch, no man is safe from memory, and no oath is truly one's own. Then the impossible occurred. The sarcophagus pulsed violently. A fissure tore along the stone, and a skeletal hand, not human, not machine, reached out. Garin fired a burst, but the arm reassembled mid-air, indistinct and more terrifying than before. The lieutenant whispered in disbelief. It is animating itself with our fear. Our presence fuels it. I realized then the hall was not merely alive. It was sentient, feeding on oaths, on memory, on our recognition of what it was. Each attempt at destruction, bolter fire, concussion grenades, made it stronger, faster, smarter. A new anomaly presented itself. A younger kill team brother removed his helm to speak. His voice trembled as he gasped. I see myself in one of the sarcophagi. I froze. One of my own brothers sees his death before it occurs, predicted by the chamber itself. The truth was undeniable. The chamber of the fallen was not merely a crypt. It was a mirror of our own mortality, folding the past, present, and future into a single, inescapable web. Every name inscribed, every echo of every oath, all were part of the fortress's growing sentience. The final horror revealed itself in the silence between whispers, the pulse of black ichor, the shifting stone, the flicker of unearthly geometry. All of it indicated one immutable fact. The Hall of Oaths and the Chamber of the Fallen were not finished with us. They were only beginning. And as we backed away toward the next corridor, the fissuring sarcophagus lid began to move again. Cliffhanger. A sarcophagus bursts open from within, revealing a figure both familiar and grotesque. A Deathwatch veteran long dead, moving independently, bolter, fused to its gauntlet. We stumbled from the Chamber of the Fallen into the vestibule of the Broken Liturgy, a hall that smelled of rusted incense and ozone, and carried the weight of countless prayers gone awry. The walls were lined with statues of servitors, each frozen mid-motion, some holding censers, some raising ritual implements. But here, as in the rest of the fortress, nothing obeyed normal rules. A censer swung of its own accord, releasing a black smoke that moved as if directed by thought, forming shapes of brothers lost and dead. I felt the first pang of true despair. Every step forward was a violation. Every breath drew corruption. The kill team remained tight, bolters up, but the air vibrated with more than sound. It carried intent. The hall knew we were coming. The Broken Liturgy earned its name in the first few seconds. Glyphs on the walls shimmered with faded red and gold, pulsing in the rhythm of a litany we could not recognize. The text began to warp, letters detaching from the stone, swirling in the air like a congregation of black moths. The words spoke of the Emperor, yet twisted. Every phrase of hope was followed immediately by a whisper of decay. The oath is eternal, the oath is ash, vigilance preserved, corruption eternal, the faithful rise, the faithful fall. Brother Librarian Seraphis leaned on his staff, eyes closed. "This is no mere echo," he murmured. "The words are alive. They anticipate your thoughts and warp them." We approached the altar at the center of the hall. Normally, a simple ceremonial dais. Here it was warped beyond recognition. Stone twisted in spirals, seeming almost to liquefy and solidify in different places at once. I could see reflections of my own face in the polished black surface, yet distorted, hollow-eyed, older and unknowing, like a ghost version of myself. I called the team to halt. Even Garen, steady and stalwart, hesitated, murmuring prayers in a low voice. Mero's scanner pulsed wildly. "Impossible readings," he said. "The altar, the inscriptions, the statues, they are generating psychic feedback. The constructs anticipate our actions before we take them." And then the chanting began. Low, melodic, but wrong. Not the oath, not even a litany I recognized. The voices, innumerable, layered, overlapping, came from all directions. From the statues, from the air, from our own minds, each syllable pressed against thought itself. The first casualty of the broken liturgy was perception. We could not determine distance or direction. A statue of a kneeling servitor suddenly appeared across from us, yet we had walked past that space mere moments ago. Shadows stretched and shrank at angles that made no sense. The floor shifted subtly, like a living membrane. Every step was a gamble, each movement a signal to the hall. I realized then that the hall did not merely observe us, it learned from us. Every glance, every hesitation, every breath was being recorded, incorporated into its own ritual. Garen's voice cracked. The voices, they're naming us now. Our sins, our failures. They know what we fear most, and they did. I heard my own whispered doubts, articulated by the hall itself. My failure on Korvax Prime, the brother I left behind on Septim IV, every compromise made in the name of duty. The fortress was not simply alive, it was judging, cataloguing, and converting memory into ritual fuel. Then came the first true horror. A statue of a servitor lifted its arm. No servos, no servitor inside. Yet the sensor swung toward us, black smoke spilling forth. The smoke formed shapes. Faceless brothers, kneeling, bowing, mouths opening in silent screams. The air grew thick, oppressive. My respirator struggled. Each breath felt like inhaling the despair of countless dead. Mero shouted over the vox. "It's using our fear, our recognition of the past. It's creating constructs from our minds." I barked orders. "Do not engage unless attacked. Observe, record, survive." But the hall did not wait for us. It acted. The altar pulsed violently, and the statues around it moved in synchrony. Bolter fire erupted. Shots tore through stone, shattering limbs of statues. The fragments fell, only to reassemble mid-air, a process faster each time we attempted it. A low hum penetrated bone and armor. The hall was hungry. Each act of violence only strengthened it. Then the altar itself cracked. A fissure opened, emitting black ichor and whispers of dead oaths. From within, the shape of a Deathwatch brother, incomplete, twisted, a mockery of flesh and ceramite, emerged. Bolter in hand, armor fused to its body in impossible angles. Its eyes, hollow yet knowing, scanned us. "You will swear again, or you will join us," it intoned. The voice was many, yet one, a chorus drawn from memory, from fear, from oaths. Garen froze. "No, no, it's taking them, our brothers, making them." His words broke into panicked whispers. I stepped forward. Observation first, survival second. Duty always. The broken liturgy's final horror emerged as we attempted retreat. The hall itself resisted. Corridors twisted behind us, leading us back toward the altar. Light flickered. Shadows merged. The chanting layered over itself, building in intensity. Every heartbeat was audible, every thought catalogued. I realized then the fortress had chosen its prey, us. Not just bodies, not just weapons, our minds, our oaths, our very souls. Every corridor, every chamber, every whispered syllable was part of the same ritual, and we were the newest offerings. The hall pulsed once more. Black ichor formed letters mid-air, spelling a single terrifying command: swear or be unmade. And at that moment, the first kill team brother screamed. Not from bolter fire, not from a blade. From the voice inside his own head, speaking truths he had never spoken, fears no living soul should know. The broken liturgy had begun its work. We fled the broken liturgy, or at least what we believed to be fleeing. Every corridor twisted impossibly, leading us back toward the altar and the shifting statues. The very architecture of the fortress had become hostile, reshaping itself around our perception. My boots echoed on black stone, but the sound did not match my movements. Every footstep was mirrored, delayed, distorted, as if the hall itself was mocking our advance. Brother Garin stumbled, gasping through his respirator. "Sergeant, these steps, they echo. Not in time, but in memory. They follow us. They anticipate us." I nodded grimly, aware of the same effect. Each movement we made, the fortress seemed to record, replicate, and distort it, creating ghostly duplicates of our own actions moments after we performed them. The first encounter was subtle. A shadow moved at the edge of our vision, indistinct, malformed, yet unmistakably human in proportion. The kill team turned sharply, weapons raised, but nothing was there. Yet the footsteps persisted. A second set of echoes followed, slightly slower, slightly heavier. We could hear our own labored breathing reflected back at us from impossible angles. Mero muttered, voice tight, "It is not merely recording sound. It is mapping neural intent. Every action, every thought, every hesitation is projected and mirrored." I realized then the danger was no longer only physical. The fortress had learned to weaponize our perception. Every hesitation was magnified. Every thought of fear became a tangible echo. As we advanced, the echoes began to take shape. A corridor led us past a doorway we had passed moments ago. From within, a figure stepped out, armor blackened and fused with ichor, bolter raised. At first glance, it was Garin, then Seraphis, then me. Each step they took mirrored ours, yet lagged by seconds, their voices distorted, our own memories twisted into something alien. We opened fire. Bolter rounds tore through ceramite, but the echoes did not collapse. Instead, they recoiled, split, and reformed as a grotesque amalgam of our own forms. The echoes were no longer mere images. They had begun to act independently, hunting us with knowledge of our every tactic. Mero scanned the corridor frantically. They are learning faster than we can react. Each encounter makes them smarter, faster, and more complete. They are no longer simulations. They are constructs built from memory and fear. The first casualty came swiftly. A kill team brother tried to backtrack through a side corridor, attempting to flank an echo of himself. The corridor shifted, walls stretched, corners twisted. His echo emerged from an angle that should not have existed. He fired, but the echo anticipated every movement. Within seconds, he screamed. Bolter dropped, chest armor fused with ichor, the echo looming over him. I could only record, unable to intervene without feeding the construct further. My own pulse hammered in my ears. The fortress was alive, aware, and hungry. Then the hall itself began to whisper. Not words, not oaths. Single consonants, repeated and layered. T-t-t-k-k-k. Each echoed syllable resonated in the bones. It was a countdown, or a rhythm, or perhaps both. The echoes we faced seemed to synchronize with it, moving in patterns that predicted our own motions. Brother Garin yelled over the whispering. "Sergeant! It's controlling them! Not with flesh, but with resonance!" I felt it myself. My own heartbeat aligned with the rhythm. My thoughts became sluggish, manipulated by the hall's persistent pulse. Each step forward was an effort of will. Each breath fought against the creeping dread. A doorway loomed ahead, half collapsed, black ichor oozing from seams. Through it came the faint glow of a chamber we had not yet entered. The echoing steps intensified, a chorus behind us, around us, inside us. Every action we attempted was mirrored, distorted, replayed by forms that were almost ourselves but not. I barked orders. "Formation tight! Move as one! No hesitations!" Mero scanned again. "The constructs are learning. Every deviation strengthens them. We must move predictably, or the echoes will assimilate us completely." We advanced. Each step was a negotiation with the fortress itself. Every echo mirrored, tested, and anticipated. The closer we came to the doorway, the more the hall distorted. Light fractured, shadows pooled, the air thickened, pressing against our lungs with unnatural force. Inside the chamber beyond the doorway, I saw the source, a massive, pulsating mass of ichor and stone, shaped vaguely like the fortress itself, spread across the floor. Tendrils of black matter reached toward the corridors we had traversed. From it rose countless forms, echoes of every brother who had fallen, every oath recorded, every fear and hesitation witnessed. They moved independently, yet as one, guided by the rhythm that pulsed through the hall. Brother Garen's voice trembled. "Sergeant, it is the hall. It has become all of us." And more I understood the implication instantly. We had walked into the heart of the fortress's intelligence. Every step we had taken, every reaction, every flicker of doubt had been noted, incorporated, amplified. The echoes were extensions of the hall, guardians and hunters alike, and they knew us intimately. We realized the corridor behind us had vanished. Walls twisted impossibly, leaving only the doorway ahead. Retreat was no longer an option. Every echo stepped forward, mirroring us, predicting us, cutting off potential escape. I pressed the kill team forward. Observation first, survival second. Remember, every action feeds it, but hesitation kills. The mass at the chamber's center pulsed, black ichor flowing in waves, and the echoes surged. Shadows leapt, voices overlapping, footsteps accelerating unnaturally. The fortress was hunting, testing, and assimilating. And then the whispers changed. Our names, our faults, our failures. Every brother knew the accusation, as if spoken from inside their own minds. I understood. We were not merely under observation. We were under judgment. The impossible final revelation of the echoing steps became clear. The fortress did not merely record movement. It did not merely simulate oaths. It recreated life and memory in order to perfect itself, to anticipate every reaction, to erase individuality and replace it with an obedient echo. If we fell, our memories, our oaths, our very selves would be grafted into its ever-growing hive of shadows. We had nowhere to run. Every step was anticipated, every breath measured, every thought mirrored. The fortress was patient. It would wait, and it would feed. The doorway loomed before us, its frame jagged, dripping black ichor, radiating the same pulse that had haunted our steps through the echoing halls. The air was dense, each breath a labor, and the echoes of our own footsteps now multiplied into a chorus of impossible sound. We advanced cautiously, bolters raised, respirators straining against the weight of the hall's presence. Inside, The chamber was a void of shadows and reflection. The central mass, the fortress intelligence made manifest, writhed like molten stone and ichor. Around it, echoes of brothers converged, distorted, fused versions of every kill team member and countless dead warriors, moving in preternatural synchronization. Each step they took was perfectly counter to ours, anticipating our reactions before we executed them. Garen whispered, voice trembling, "Sergeant, they are perfect copies. Every flaw, every fear, every hesitation accounted for. There's no way to outmaneuver them." I realized the horror of it immediately. This was no mere assault. It was a crucible designed to test, consume, and convert. Every decision we made fed the constructs, strengthened the hull, and sharpened their coordination. Survival required absolute precision and unwavering calm. Two things, difficult in the face of something that knew our souls. We advanced into the chamber proper, each echoing step shaking the floor and rattling the stone. A grotesque fusion of Deathwatch veterans stepped forward from the central mass. Armor fused and twisted, bolters growing from their limbs like extensions of sinew. Their movements were fluid, unnatural, yet unmistakably precise. The first bolter fired, not at me, at Garen. He stumbled, pulling up in instinct. The round passed harmlessly through his echo before the figure reformed instantly, anticipating the trajectory. Mero shouted over the roar of the chamber, "We cannot fight them conventionally. Every projectile, every strike is absorbed and mirrored." I understood immediately. This was not a battle to be won with weapons. It was a test of will, observation, and endurance. Every error would be catalogued, every hesitation stored for the fortress's future constructs. The shadows themselves began to converge, leaving little space to maneuver. The pulsing ichor from the central mass extended into tendrils that wrapped around statues, walls, and even air, weaving an environment hostile to both body and mind. The echoes coordinated with these extensions, forcing the kill team into increasingly confined spaces. I barked orders. "Stay tight. Predictable movements only. Observe patterns. Do not react emotionally." Even as I spoke, the echoes mirrored our formation perfectly. Every motion was anticipated, every reflex countered. My own mind was under assault. The whispers of the hall repeated our oaths back at us, twisted and incomplete. Each syllable weighed heavier, bending my perception, warping the timing of thought and action. Garen gritted his teeth. "The hall, it is teaching them, teaching us, and we are failing." The first direct confrontation came as a cluster of fused echoes surged. Their bolters spat rounds that reassembled mid-air, reforming to strike again. Close quarters combat was impossible. A swing of a combat blade would be mirrored, redirected, and countered with perfect timing. I realized the key was not fighting, but feeding information minimally, moving predictably, and avoiding any unnecessary engagement. Each brother's instincts became liabilities. Even a blink of hesitation could be recorded and returned with devastating precision. Mero scanned the central mass. "It's coordinating everything from there." The shadows, the echoes, the pulse, all emanate from one source. We must neutralize it, or the constructs will continue to perfect themselves indefinitely. I nodded, voice firm. Observation and containment first. Survival second. Duty always. The central mass began to pulse faster. Its ichor tendrils undulated like living serpents, lashing at echoes and the environment alike. The chamber warped around us, walls stretching, floors tilting, shadows pooling at impossible angles. The echoes, previously patient, now advanced with terrifying aggression. One of the younger brothers panicked, firing a round into a wall. The echoes responded instantly, splitting and converging on him with lethal coordination. A scream tore from his throat, absorbed into the chorus of the hall itself. We had learned something crucial. Panic amplified the constructs. A pattern began to emerge. The echoes responded not to our attacks, but to our psychological state. Calm, deliberate movements delayed their response. Hasty decisions accelerated it. Every heartbeat of fear was translated into a predator's advantage. The hall had weaponized our minds. I instructed the team to halt. Slow your breathing. Predictable motions. Minimal input. Observe the pattern. Let the shadows tell us their rhythm. We watched as the mass at the center contracted, then expanded, sending ripples through the echoes. Each pulse altered movement, creating a rhythm to which we could sync our steps. Slowly, we learned to move within it, navigating corridors that twisted but allowed passage. And then the impossible occurred. The central mass split partially, sending a single, towering figure forward, fused from multiple brothers, armor mangled, bolter integrated into sinew. It moved like water and stone simultaneously, yet each motion reflected perfect knowledge of our formation and intentions. Its voice resonated across the hall, a chorus of familiarity. Swear, or join, the eternal fold. Garen froze. I felt it too. A pull against thought itself, a compulsion to obey, to kneel, to swear. The hall demanded submission, not bloodshed. Resistance was dangerous, yet failure to act would embed us into the fortress's growing consciousness. We pressed forward, now fully aware that the only path to survival was to navigate the chamber's rhythm, predicting the pulse, and not engage unless forced. Every step forward was a negotiation with the hall itself. The echoes followed, mirrored, tested, and adjusted, yet with careful coordination, we began to push toward the doorway on the far side of the chamber, our only apparent exit. The central figure's eyes, empty, hollow, yet knowing, followed us, tracking our every decision. The echoes advanced with relentless precision, yet the rhythm allowed us incremental progress. Every heartbeat, every syllable of the hall, every shadow became a coordinate, a guide, a threat. And then the central mass pulsed violently. The shadows converged completely, the echoes unified into a single wave of movement. The chamber seemed to breathe around us. Every door, every wall, every shadow was now hostile. The fortress itself had declared a single objective: assimilation of the intruders. I realized, with the cold certainty of the doomed, that we had entered the heart of the fortress's sentience. It knew our strengths, our fears, our oaths. Every misstep, every hesitation, would be used to rewrite us, to fold us into its eternal ritual. And as the first wave of echoes surged toward us, in perfect coordination, I understood the inevitable truth. The converging shadows were only the beginning. The converging shadows surged around us, a wave of fused armor and pulsing ichor, moving with perfect anticipation. Every corridor had collapsed into a single, twisted path leading forward. There was no retreat. The pulse that had haunted our steps now hammered through the very stone of the fortress, resonating in our bones and amplifying every fear. Ahead lay the heart of oaths. Mero's Binharic analyzer registered it before we could see it. A vast chamber at the nexus of the fortress, pulsing with unnatural energy. The walls shimmered with inscriptions, twisting and reforming continuously. Every vow, every pledge, every recorded memory from countless generations of Deathwatch warriors spiraled outward, converging toward a central mass. I swallowed hard. This is the source. Everything we've encountered, every echo, every construct, originates here. Garen's voice trembled. Sergeant, it knows us. It knows everything. There's nothing we can hide. The chamber's center was dominated by a monolithic structure, a black obelisk of fused ichor, stone, and armor plating. It pulsed rhythmically, as though breathing, each beat sending ripples through the echoes that surrounded it. Shadows clung to it, writhing and converging in patterns too precise to be random. Mero scanned frantically. It is sentient. Not in the way we understand, but alive in every sense. Every oath, every memory, every action we've taken. It's incorporated them. This is the fortress's mind, and we are the newest data. The implications struck me with crushing weight. We were intruders not merely in space, but in consciousness. The heart of oaths did not simply guard, it assimilated. Every misstep, every hesitation would be folded into its growing intelligence, reshaping it, feeding its purpose. A wave of whispers filled the chamber, each voice familiar yet distorted. We could hear the names of fallen brothers, the broken oaths of past missions, the pledges we had taken ourselves, the whispers twisted into commands. Swear, kneel, join, be made complete. Garen shivered. It's forcing us to repeat the oaths. Our own words are becoming weapons I understood immediately. The fortress thrived on obedience, but it required participation. Passive observation was dangerous, but resistance fed it as well. Every action had consequences beyond the immediate. The first constructs advanced, stepping from the shadows. Fused armor, sinew and ichor formed humanoid shapes that moved with uncanny precision. They mirrored us perfectly, every tactic anticipated, every movement countered. Mero warned, voice low, "Combat alone won't save us. Every strike we make strengthens the heart. We must observe, understand, and exploit patterns." I nodded. Formation tight, predictable movements, every step deliberate. Even as we pressed forward, the chamber shifted. Walls undulated, inscriptions forming and dissolving mid-air, letters twisting into our names, our failures, our fears. Shadows clung to our heels, tendrils of black ichor brushing against armor and flesh alike. Then the heart pulsed violently. The echoes surged forward, converging on us with terrifying coordination. One of the younger brothers faltered, panic flashing in his eyes. The pulse caught him immediately. His scream was absorbed, twisted, and echoed back in a chorus of distorted voices. His own name, his own failures, projected in agony. I barked orders. Steady, predictable, control your mind. We advanced slowly, synchronized to the pulse. Each step, each breath measured. The heart responded, its tendrils contracting, withdrawing slightly, as if acknowledging compliance. But the danger remained absolute. One misstep, one hesitation, and we would be folded into the fortress itself. Mero identified a potential point of intervention, a fissure in the central obelisk, faintly glowing, as if revealing a vulnerable core. If we disrupt this, if we can destabilize the pulse, perhaps we can create a window to escape, he said. I studied the fissure. Black ichor rippled around it, absorbing ambient light. Shadows danced toward it like living predators. The risk was immense. Attacking might trigger a cascade, strengthening the heart instead of weakening it. Yet inaction guaranteed assimilation. Prepare for precision strike, I ordered. Only Mero, only the minimal necessary force. The rest of us will contain the echoes, maintain formation, and protect him. The strike began. Mero advanced slowly, each step synchronized to the pulse of the heart. Shadows lunged, echoes surged, but we maintained the rhythm, blocking and holding them in controlled positions. My own heartbeat was steady, deliberate, measured, every ounce of fear suppressed. Mero reached the fissure, tools in hand, and began the delicate operation of destabilizing the heart. The black ichor pulsed violently, shadows lashing out in preemptive strikes. Bolter rounds tore through fused constructs, but each strike was absorbed partially, reinforcing the mass. Then, with a grinding hum that resonated through stone and soul alike, the fissure destabilized. A wave of energy pulsed outward, displacing shadows, dissolving echoes. The heart recoiled slightly, almost as if wounded. For a moment, relief. Then came the reaction. The heart pulsed faster, harder, contracting its mass into a spiral of writhing ichor and fused armor. Its voice, a chorus of all we feared and remembered, surged, "You will complete your oaths, or become eternal." The pulse intensified, and for the first time, I felt the fortress directly pressing against my mind, probing, testing, bending thought and will. Every memory, every oath, every secret desire was analyzed. Resistance was difficult, compliance dangerous. We held our ground. Minimal, precise movements, observation over action, discipline over fear, and then the impossible. The heart of oaths began to divide, sending tendrils outward that reshaped the chamber entirely. Corridors reformed, shadows coalesced, and new echoes appeared. Combinations of multiple kill team members, each fused into grotesque parodies of life. They advanced in perfect unison. Garen gasped, voice trembling. "It's multiplying itself. Every observation, every interaction, it grows stronger." I nodded grimly. "Yes, and we are the catalyst." We advanced carefully, synchronized to the pulse, toward the newly revealed exit. Every step was a negotiation with a sentient, all-consuming consciousness. Every heartbeat, a gamble. The heart of oaths was alive. It was learning, and it would not forgive mistakes. Cliffhanger. Mero destabilizes the fissure, but the heart of oaths reacts violently, sending waves of ichor, shadows and echoes surging toward the kill team. The pulse of the chamber accelerates, threatening to fold every team member into the fortress's consciousness, leaving the team with only split seconds to survive. The chamber shuddered with each pulse of the heart of oaths. Shadows surged, echoes multiplied, and black ichor dripped from every surface as though the fortress itself was sweating its intent. Every corridor, every step, every breath seemed synchronized to a rhythm only the heart could command. The kill team advanced, but each move was a negotiation with a living sentient environment, and each heartbeat carried the weight of potential assimilation. Garen's voice cracked. "Sergeant, it's adapting, faster than we can anticipate. The echoes, they're learning our strategies now." I felt the truth in his words immediately. Every time we attempted coordinated movement, the mirrored constructs adjusted, cutting off options we had relied on before. The fortress was evolving in real time, weaponizing our own instincts against us. Mero scanned the chamber, sweat beading on his brow beneath the respirator. The fissure destabilization delayed its reaction, but it's not enough. The heart of oaths is growing, consolidating energy from our fear and hesitation. Every microsecond of indecision strengthens it. The whispers rose in volume, layering over themselves, calling out every sin, every broken oath, every memory we had buried. You failed, you faltered, you abandoned, you lied. Each syllable gnawed at the edge of sanity, embedding itself in the mind like a slow poison. I barked orders. Keep formation. Do not respond to the voices. Minimal movement, deliberate breathing, observation above all. The first wave of fused constructs lunged forward. Not simple echoes this time, but amalgamations, grotesque combinations of multiple brothers and forgotten recruits, stitched together with ichor and armor in impossible geometries. Every motion was fluid, yet preternaturally precise, as if the chamber itself predicted the exact path we would take to avoid them. Garen hesitated, bolter raised, and the construct mirrored him perfectly, anticipating his swing, his stance, his angle of fire. My heart pounded. Any reaction now would feed the fortress further. Mero's hands moved frantically over the scanner. The heart is projecting predictive patterns through the chamber. We cannot engage conventionally. Every attack strengthens it. I nodded grimly. Contain, observe, survive. Every misstep, 'is' 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 The chamber's architecture shifted around us. Walls stretched like sinew, floors tilted imperceptibly, and shadows pooled unnaturally. The kill team's formation was tested at every step. One wrong movement and the echoes would converge, absorbing our essence into the heart itself. A younger brother screamed as a fused echo closed in. He fired instinctively, and the echo mirrored the attack, twisting midair to counter and strike. The boy's armor fused with ichor instantly, screams swallowed into the chorus of the heart. I felt the oppressive weight pressing against my own mind. Garen whispered, voice trembling. It's not just anticipating. It's learning from our pain, from our fear. It wants us broken, body and mind. We pressed onward, each step synchronized to the pulse of the chamber, every breath measured. The fissure Mero had destabilized shimmered faintly in the center of the chamber, pulsating with energy. It was the only tangible anomaly, the one weakness in the fortress's sentient design. But reaching it required navigating a gauntlet of shadows and amalgamated echoes, each more grotesque and precise than the last. I gave strict orders. One brother at a time toward the fissure. The rest provide controlled containment. No sudden movements, no panic. The first attempt was nearly fatal. A fused construct, amalgam of Garen and two deceased brothers, surged forward, predicting our every move. It struck from an angle we had not anticipated, forcing Garen to retreat sharply. A second pulse from the heart sent tremors through the chamber, displacing the floor beneath our feet, and shadows lashed at our armor like living whips. Mero gritted his teeth, advancing toward the fissure. The core must be destabilized completely, or this chamber will assimilate all of us. Every heartbeat, every breath, every motion is feeding it. I barked orders again. Slow and deliberate, predictable, observation, survival. The kill team's movement became ritualistic. Every step synchronized to the pulse, every breath measured against the chamber's rhythm. The amalgamated constructs pressed, yet with careful discipline, we forced incremental progress. The shadows retracted just enough to allow passage, but the heart's voice intensified, a chorus of accusation and command. Obey, kneel, swear, submit, become complete. The call was irresistible, pressing against thought itself. A sudden flash of memory. My failure on Korvax Prime, the brother I left behind, slammed into my mind, threatening to destabilize my concentration. I clenched my jaw and moved forward. Duty first, survival second, observation always. Mero reached the fissure. Black ichor rippled around his tools. Shadows lunged, fused echoes struck, yet he worked with precise, deliberate movements, synchronized to the rhythm of the chamber. Bolter fire tore through constructs, but each strike was carefully measured to avoid feeding the heart more energy than necessary. Then the impossible happened. The heart pulsed violently, projecting a wave of psychic resonance that distorted time within the chamber. Seconds stretched. Echoes moved faster. Shadows expanded. Our perception of space warped. Each step felt like wading through molasses, yet the pulse continued to provide the only anchor for survival. The chamber became a crucible. Fused constructs surged from every angle, shadows twisted into impossible geometries, and the heart's chorus became deafening. Every memory, every oath, every thought was probed, twisted, and weaponized against us. Garen gasped, voice trembling. Sergeant, we are unmaking ourselves just by moving, just by breathing. Every instinct is feeding it. I pressed forward. We are not here to destroy. We are here to survive. Observation, control, minimal input. Every movement deliberate. Every breath counted. Duty above all. Mero struck the fissure with precision. A pulse of energy shot through the chamber, destabilizing the central mass. Shadows recoiled, echoes faltered, and for a brief suspended moment, the heart of oaths shivered. It was enough, but only barely. The pulse accelerated again, stronger and faster, as the heart attempted to recover. New echoes emerged, more complex, more grotesque, more precise. The kill team was forced to adapt immediately, relying on ritualized synchronization, careful breathing, and unwavering discipline to navigate the chamber. Every microsecond mattered. Every heartbeat was a calculation. Every shadow a potential predator. And still, the Heart of Oaths continued to learn. Cliffhanger. The fissure destabilization partially disrupts the heart, but the fortress retaliates with a coordinated wave of fused echoes and shadows, collapsing the chamber's geometry. The kill team must navigate a rapidly deteriorating environment while resisting psychic compulsion, leaving their survival hanging by the thinnest of threads. The chamber continued to pulse, each beat of the Heart of Oaths reverberating through stone, ichor, and bone alike. Shadows shifted and multiplied, fusing with echoes in grotesque geometries that defied comprehension. Every corridor, every wall, every corner became hostile. Yet the fissure destabilization had provided the tiniest of openings, a sliver of hope amid the fortress' unrelenting assault. Mero signaled from the front. "Sergeant, the fissure is holding. Barely. But the heart is recalibrating. Its intelligence. It's like facing a god in mechanical form." I clenched my fists. The kill team had survived the first wave of assimilation, but the heart had grown in complexity. It was no longer a collection of echoes and shadows. It had become a sentient predator, probing minds, rewriting memories, and exploiting every shred of faith and discipline we possessed. Garen's voice was strained, trembling under the psychic pressure. "Sergeant, I've seen the walls. They aren't walls anymore. They're memories. The fortress. It's replaying our failures, twisting our oaths. I can't tell what's real." I placed a hand on his shoulder, firm but trembling. "Reality is irrelevant here. Discipline is reality. Observation is survival. We move together, or we are lost." Mero's binharic analyzer detected the next pulse. It's testing faith directly. The fissure destabilization gave it a new variable. It's probing loyalty, obedience, even belief in the Emperor. Every hesitation, every doubt, every internal struggle strengthens its grasp. I realized then the scale of the trial. This was not merely a physical hazard. This was a psychic crucible, a test of oaths and discipline, designed to fracture even the strongest of minds. The first confrontation of the wave began almost immediately. Fused echoes surged from the shadows, grotesque parodies of the kill team, their weapons integrated into malformed limbs, their eyes glowing with a void-like intelligence. They mirrored our movements perfectly, anticipating each tactic, each counter, each hesitation. Garen stepped forward instinctively. A pulse shot through the chamber, and he froze. Images of his failures, memories of the dead, the brothers he had left behind, were projected into his mind with unbearable clarity. He stumbled, almost collapsing under the weight. I barked orders. "Control yourself!" Every hesitation feeds it. Focus on discipline. Faith over fear. Mero approached the fissure, tools in hand, eyes wide beneath the respirator. "The core's destabilization is progressing slowly, but it's provoking the heart to expand its influence. The constructs are moving faster, shadows are denser, and the psychic pulse, it's increasing exponentially." I recognized the implications immediately. The fortress was weaponizing faith itself. The whispers grew louder, now calling our names, invoking past failures, twisting oaths into threats, prayers into accusations. The walls reverberated with distorted litanies, incomprehensible yet intimately personal. Garen gritted his teeth. It's testing my loyalty, my faith. It knows what I hold sacred, and it's turning it against me. I knew then that the kill team would survive physically only if we preserved our mental discipline. The heart's greatest weapon was not ichor or fused armor. but the corrosion of belief and unity. A fused echo leapt from the shadows. It moved with uncanny precision, anticipating my every command, every tactic. It did not simply attack, it sought to divide, to isolate, to fracture our cohesion. I realized that if even one brother faltered in faith or obedience, the heart would assimilate not just him, but his memory, and use it against the rest of us. Mero worked on the fissure, tendrils of ichor and shadow snapping toward him. I moved to cover, bolter raised but careful not to overcommit. The chamber had already learned to reflect excessive force. Every shot, every strike, every deviation was a lesson for the heart. The rift of faith widened psychologically. The chamber shifted. Walls stretched impossibly, floor angles warped, shadows pooled like living ink. The echoes multiplied, but so did our focus. We relied on ritualized breathing, coordinated steps, and unwavering discipline to resist the psychic pull of the heart. A younger brother screamed, struck by the projection of his own guilt. His bolter discharged randomly, feeding the heart further, and his form dissolved partially into shadow before recoalescing. I realized the full cost. Failure was immediate, but temporary. Each misstep enriched the fortress's intelligence. Garen's eyes met mine, filled with raw terror. "Sergeant, it's inside me, inside all of us, our fears, our faith. It's everywhere." I swallowed hard. Then we must be stronger than it expects. Faith and discipline are the only weapons left. Mero's hands moved with precision, adjusting the destabilization tools on the fissure. Black ichor pulsed violently, and shadows recoiled. The chamber shrieked with psychic resonance, a cacophony of distorted oaths, commands, and accusations. Then, impossibly, the heart seemed to falter. Its pulse shifted, slowed ever so slightly, shadows contracting. We seized the rhythm, moving incrementally closer to the fissure, synchronized perfectly to the chamber's resonance. I barked commands. "Advance slowly! One brother at a time. Minimal movement. Observation over action." The central mass quivered. The echoes hesitated, reassembling, recalculating. Yet for the first time, we saw a glimmer of hope. The rift of faith had become a test of mental and spiritual endurance. Each measured step, each deliberate breath, each suppression of fear weakened the fortress's immediate influence. The chamber's pulse accelerated again, and the fused constructs surged. Shadows formed impossible angles, tendrils snapped toward our armor, but we maintained rhythm, observation, patience, synchronization, faith as armor, duty as weapon. Mero struck the fissure with precise force. A shockwave of energy rippled outward, displacing shadows, dissolving minor echoes, and destabilizing the heart further. For a moment, the chamber was silent, a heavy, suffocating quiet as the fortress reeled from the fissure strike. The echoes froze mid-step, shadows hung, suspended, and the pulse slowed imperceptibly. We had won a small, costly victory, but the rift of faith had revealed the true scale of the heart's power. It attacked not only bodies, but minds, loyalty, and belief itself. I realized grimly that survival would demand more than courage or firepower. We would need absolute discipline, unwavering faith, and precise coordination to navigate the coming waves. The heart was learning, adapting, and it would not rest until we were consumed entirely, body, mind, and soul. Cliffhanger. The Heart of Oaths reacts to the fissure strike, sending a psychic pulse that fractures the chamber's geometry further. Shadows and echoes advance in unpredictable, reality-bending patterns, and the kill team must decide whether to press forward through the rift of faith or risk being assimilated. The rift of faith had shifted the chamber into something unrecognizable. Corridors no longer obeyed conventional geometry. Floors tilted at impossible angles, shadows pooled into corners that could not exist, and fused echoes multiplied in real time. Every step became a negotiation with a sentient labyrinth, every heartbeat a gamble. The kill team advanced cautiously, synchronized to the pulse of the heart of oaths, yet each movement carried the weight of inevitability. Mero's voice crackled through the comms. "Sergeant, the Fisher destabilization has slowed its assimilation temporarily, but every second we hesitate, every misstep, it learns faster. The chamber is folding us into itself." I swallowed, gripping my bolter. We continue. Observation, control, synchronization. Every microsecond matters. Garen's gaze was hollow, haunted. It's inside me, inside all of us. The walls, the shadows, they aren't just shapes, they are extensions of our own fears. We entered a spiral corridor leading downward, twisting in impossible angles. The pulse of the heart reverberated through the stone, pulling at our perception. Each step felt like falling through the void. Shadows along the walls coalesced into twisted forms, fused echoes of fallen brothers and recruits, stretching impossibly, observing, learning, calculating. Mero whispered urgently, "The spiral. It's not just architectural. It's psychic. Every step recalibrates the heart's predictions. The deeper we descend, the stronger its influence on perception and instinct." I realized immediately that the spiral was designed as a crucible, not a physical barrier, but a psychological one. Every step tested fear, every breath tested faith, every movement tested discipline. One falter and the heart could assimilate us individually or collectively, rewriting our oaths into fuel for itself. The first wave struck. Shadows erupted from the walls, fused echoes springing with precision that defied natural laws. One construct surged toward Garen, mimicking him perfectly. Every instinct, every reflex he made was anticipated and countered. The boy faltered, his bolter misfiring, and a tendril of ichor grazed his armor. The pain was real, but the psychic shock, the sense of violation, cut deeper. I barked orders. "Steady. Predictable. Observe the rhythm. Do not react emotionally." We moved as one, synchronizing every heartbeat with the chamber's pulse. The spiral itself seemed aware, tilting, twisting, compressing around us in response to hesitation or panic. Mero reached the central axis of the spiral, scanning the fissure. "Sergeant, it's recalibrating again. The destabilization is working, but the heart is adapting. It's creating predictive loops. Every action we take reinforces its intelligence, if not executed perfectly." I nodded grimly. "Then perfection is our only option. One mistake, and we are gone." A fused echo leapt from the walls, a grotesque amalgam of Garen and two deceased brothers. Its limbs twisted in impossible geometries, bolter integrated into sinew and armor. It struck predictably, but we had learned the rhythm. Movement had to be deliberate, minimal, and synchronized. As we descended further, the spiral's influence intensified. The whispers of the heart became omnipresent, layering over themselves in a cacophony of accusation, command, and corrupted liturgy. "You failed. You faltered. You abandoned. You are incomplete. Become whole." The voices reached into the mind, testing faith, obedience, and loyalty. Even Mero, normally composed under extreme conditions, flinched. I forced my breathing to slow, counting steps deliberately. Faith and discipline. Observation first, action second. Duty above all. A younger brother panicked, bolter firing indiscriminately into a wall. The fused echoes reacted instantly, dispersing into the chamber's geometry and converging on him. Shadows coiled, pulling him toward the walls. The scream was immediate, absolute, absorbed into the pulse of the heart. I realized then the brutal calculus. Survival demanded mental discipline above all else. Physical endurance was secondary. Faith and focus were the only shields against total assimilation. Garen stumbled, vision blurring as psychic resonance assaulted his mind. Sergeant, it's inside me. My thoughts, my memories, even my prayers, are not my own. I grasped his arm. Then, hold on to discipline. Observe, synchronize, survive. Do not let it dictate your actions. We reached the lower spiral where the fissure glowed faintly. Black ichor rippled around it, and tendrils of shadow extended toward us like serpents. Mero worked with precision, adjusting the destabilization tools. The heart responded immediately, sending psychic feedback pulses that bent perception, twisted the corridor, and accelerated the movements of fused echoes. Every step now carried multiple layers of danger. Shadows could strike physically, mentally, or spiritually. Echoes could predict movement or induce panic. The heart could manipulate faith, bending prayers into weapons. Yet we moved, synchronized, deliberate, steady. Observation first, action second. Faith as armor, discipline as weapon. A massive fused construct surged from the axis of the spiral, limbs twisting in impossible angles, bolter integrated into sinew, eyes glowing void-like. It lunged at Mero as he struck the fissure. Shadows converged, twisting around the axis, creating geometries that should have been impossible. I fired the bolter in measured bursts, not to kill, but to control. The construct's attention was divided, calculated, and Mero's strike destabilized the fissure slightly further. Black ichor recoiled. The spiral quivered. The heart pulsed violently, recalibrating. For the first time, I saw the pattern. We were no longer reacting. We were part of the rhythm. The spiral itself was a crucible, but one we could navigate if we moved deliberately, synchronized to its pulse, and suppressed fear and doubt entirely. Then the impossible. The fissure pulsed violently, a shockwave of energy tearing through the spiral. Shadows recoiled, fused echoes faltered, and for a brief, suspended moment, the heart shivered. Mero shouted over the resonance, "The destabilization is working, but it's not enough. The heart. It will retaliate. Prepare yourselves." I tightened my grip on the bolter, glancing at the kill team. Every brother was synchronized, breathing controlled, eyes fixed, minds braced for the coming assault. The spiral of descent was not merely a path. It was a ritual, a test, a weapon. And we had survived its first true trial. But the heart of oaths was far from defeated. The spiral of descent had fractured the chamber's reality into something unbearable. Floors tilted at impossible angles, walls stretched beyond reason, and shadows pooled in corners that shouldn't exist. The pulse of the heart of oaths grew stronger with every step, reverberating through stone, ichor, and bone alike. The fissure destabilization had slowed assimilation, but it had also provoked the heart to retaliate. A retaliation that combined psychic terror, fused constructs, and reality-bending architecture. Mero's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and strained. "Sergeant, the heart is consolidating. It's generating predictive patterns beyond any model we have. Every action we take feeds it, and yet the fissure continues to destabilize. It's paradoxical." I swallowed, tightening my grip on the bolter. Then we proceed, carefully. Synchronization, discipline, observation. Every microsecond matters. Garen's eyes were haunted. It's everywhere, in the walls, in the shadows, in my own mind. The heart knows our fears, our faith, our oaths, and it's using them against us. We advanced down the spiral toward the heart's epicenter. The air itself seemed viscous, each breath a labor. Shadows twisted unnaturally, pooling into shapes that mirrored our worst fears. Fused echoes multiplied, forming grotesque parodies of the kill team. Limbs were elongated, armor fused with sinew, bolters integrated into flesh in ways that defied both logic and anatomy. Mero's analyzer beeped frantically. Sergeant, the heart is projecting predictive constructs. Every movement we make is mirrored and countered. Standard engagement is fatal. I realized the scale of the crucible we faced. The heart's attacks were not merely physical. They were cognitive, spiritual, and temporal. It bent reality, manipulated perception, and weaponized faith itself. The first confrontation erupted. Fused echoes surged, moving with preternatural precision. A construct leapt from a tilted wall toward Garen, anticipating his every reflex. He faltered, bolter misfiring, and a tendril of ichor brushed against his armor. The pain was real, but the psychic shock, the sense of violation, cut deeper, threatening to fracture discipline and faith alike. I barked orders. Steady. Predictable. Observe the rhythm. Do not react emotionally. We moved as one, synchronized to the pulse. The spiral, the chamber, the heart itself, all responded to hesitation. Every step, every breath, every microsecond of panic fed the heart's intelligence. Mero reached the fissure again, tools in hand. Black ichor rippled violently as shadows lashed outward, fused echoes striking with impossible precision. The pulse of the heart accelerated, bending the spiral's geometry further, tilting floors, stretching walls, coiling shadows into impossible angles. The destabilization is working, Mero said, voice strained. But it's provoking the heart. Every strike, every adjustment, it adapts immediately. We are being measured, tested, catalogued, like data in a crucible. I nodded grimly. Then perfection is our only option. Observation first, action second. Discipline over instinct. A younger brother screamed as a fused echo surged, a grotesque amalgam of his own visage and those of fallen comrades. Bolter discharged accidentally, feeding the heart, and his body twisted under the influence of shadows before recoalescing. I realized the brutal calculus. Survival required more than courage. Mental discipline and faith were shields stronger than armor or weaponry. Garen staggered, vision blurred as psychic resonance assaulted him. Sergeant, it's inside me. Every thought, every prayer. It's not my own. I gritted my teeth. Then hold to discipline. Faith and observation are the only weapons left. Let the heart learn that we are immovable. The crucible intensified as we reached the epicenter. Shadows fused into impossible geometries, fused echoes combined into monstrous parodies, and psychic pulses threatened to overwhelm. Yet the fissure glowed faintly, a tangible anomaly amidst the chaos. Mero struck it with precision. Black ichor recoiled. The pulse of the heart shivered, momentarily disrupted. The fused echoes faltered, and shadows contracted slightly. But the heart retaliated immediately, projecting waves of psychic energy that fractured perception. The spiral seemed to twist further into impossibility, walls looping back, floors folding over themselves, and shadows multiplied endlessly. We pressed forward, synchronized to the pulse. Observation became instinct. Each breath, each step, each glance meticulously measured. Faith and discipline became the only anchors in the crucible. A massive fused construct surged from the epicenter, limbs twisted in impossible angles, bolter integrated into sinew, eyes glowing void-like. It struck at Mero as he worked the fissure. Shadows coiled, and fused echoes converged from multiple angles. I fired measured bolter bursts, controlling its movement rather than attempting to destroy. The construct reacted, but not predictably enough to overcome our synchronization. Mero's strike destabilized the fissure further. Black ichor recoiled, the heart pulsed violently, recalibrating its assaults. For the first time, a pattern emerged. We were not merely surviving, we were participating in the rhythm. The heart, in all its sentient complexity, responded to discipline. Observation, synchronization, and faith could bend even a psychic fortress to our advantage. The crucible had revealed the limits of fear. It was no longer just a test of survival. It was a test of identity, of discipline, of loyalty. Every heartbeat measured against the pulse of the heart, every movement catalogued, every thought monitored, yet controlled. Then the fissure pulsed violently. A shockwave of energy tore through the spiral. Shadows recoiled, fused echoes faltered, and for a brief suspended moment, the heart shivered. Mero shouted above the psychic cacophony. "The destabilization is working. Keep moving. Synchronize." We advanced in perfect harmony, step by step, breath by breath. Observation first, action second. Faith as armor, discipline as weapon. The crucible of echoes had revealed the heart's greatest vulnerability. It could be influenced, even resisted, but only through unwavering mental fortitude and absolute discipline. Cliffhanger. The fissure destabilization partially disrupts the heart, but new, larger constructs begin to converge, fusing multiple echoes and shadows into massive, grotesque forms. The kill team faces the most dangerous psychic and physical assault yet as they approach the heart's true core. The spiral of descent ended abruptly in a vast chamber, an impossible cathedral of stone and ichor. The pulse of the Heart of Oaths reverberated through the air, shaking the walls and warping perception. Fused echoes swirled in grotesque choreography, shadows pooling into impossible geometries, and black ichor dripped from the vaulted ceiling like sentient rain. The epicenter of the heart lay ahead, a void of concentration and power, humming with the rhythm of every oath ever broken or kept. Mero's voice trembled through the comms. "Sergeant, this is it. The core. Everything converges here. The heart. It's aware of us entirely. Our thoughts, our faith, our sins, all catalogued I swallowed, gripping my bolter. Then we face it. Observation, synchronization, discipline. Every breath, every movement, every heartbeat counts. We step carefully, or we are absorbed entirely." Garen's eyes were hollow with terror. "It's not just alive, it's omniscient. Every fear, every doubt, it knows." The chamber was alive with echoes of our failures. Fused constructs formed continuously from shadows and ichor, each a grotesque mirror of the kill team. Limbs twisted in impossible angles, bolters fused into sinew, eyes glowing with void-like intelligence. Mero approached the fissure at the center, tools humming with stabilized energy. The heart pulsed violently in response, projecting psychic feedback that distorted perception, twisted corridors, and accelerated the movement of echoes. I barked orders. Synchronize. Minimal movement. Observe first. Act second. Faith over fear. The kill team advanced, each step synchronized to the pulse. The core itself seemed to sense hesitation, distorting space and shadow to test our discipline. The first wave of fused echoes struck. A massive amalgam of Garen, Mero, and two deceased brothers lunged with preternatural speed, bolters integrated into sinew, voices distorted into a chorus of accusation. Garen faltered, vision blurred, psychic pressure gnawing at his mind. "Sergeant, I can't, it's in my head, twisting my faith, my thoughts." I placed a hand on his shoulder, firm. "Discipline, faith, observation. You are more than it can know. Focus." Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers. Black ichor recoiled. Shadows twisted violently, yet we pressed forward, synchronized, deliberate. The core of oaths pulsed, a living rhythm of assimilation. Fused constructs multiplied, shadows coalesced, and the pulse accelerated. Every microsecond counted. Every step measured against the chamber's impossible angles. A younger brother screamed as a fused echo converged on him. Bolter discharged accidentally, feeding the heart further, and his body twisted under shadow influence before recoalescing. I realized fully the brutal calculus. Mental discipline and faith were the only shields stronger than armor or weapons. Garen staggered, vision swimming with psychic resonance. Sergeant, it's everywhere. In me. In all of us. I tightened my grip on the bolter. Then hold to discipline. Faith is armor. Observation is weapon. Synchronize your steps. We survive together. Mero struck the fissure again. Black Ichor recoiled violently, and for a brief moment, the heart faltered. Shadows withdrew, fused echoes paused, and the chamber quivered. But the reprieve was fleeting. The heart retaliated with psychic waves, bending space, time, and perception. The spiral of descent had been a trial. The core was a crucible. Every doubt, every hesitation, every faltering oath fed the heart. I barked orders again. Advance slowly, step by step. Observe the rhythm, minimal movement. The kill team moved as one. Faith and discipline anchored our minds against the psychic assault. Every brother mirrored the others perfectly, synchronized to the pulse of the heart. The first direct engagement began. A massive fused construct surged from the center, limbs twisting in impossible angles, bolter integrated into sinew, eyes glowing void-like. Shadows coiled around it, extending like serpents. I fired measured bolter bursts, not to destroy but to control its motion. Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers, each pulse further destabilizing the heart. The construct reacted, but our synchronization countered its prediction. Garen held his breath, every muscle taut with concentration. Sergeant, I feel connected, like I can resist it. I nodded. Focus, faith, discipline. We are more than it expects. The core's pulse grew unstable, flickering between overwhelming force and momentary vulnerability. Black Ichor writhed like living shadows, fused echoes faltered, and psychic feedback twisted the chamber into impossible geometries. The kill team pressed forward, synchronized perfectly. Observation first, deliberate action second. Faith and discipline became weapons, each breath a calculated strike against the heart's influence. Mero struck the fissure one final time. A shockwave tore through the chamber. Shadows recoiled violently, fused echoes disintegrated into Ichor, and for the first time, the heart of oaths pulsed in hesitation. Then the chamber itself screamed. Reality bent, time fractured. Shadows surged into the kill team, fused echoes formed grotesque parodies, and psychic resonance threatened to overwhelm. Yet we held the rhythm, synchronized perfectly, stepping deliberately, moving as one against the impossible geometry of the core. The heart pulsed violently one last time, and in that moment, I saw the truth. The core was not merely a machine, not merely a psychic entity. It was a mirror of discipline, faith, and failure. Every action we had taken, every step, every breath, every hesitation had shaped it. Cliffhanger. The fissure destabilization succeeds in disrupting the heart's immediate influence, but the core begins to restructure itself, fusing multiple layers of shadow, echo, and psychic projection into a new, larger threat. The kill team must face the final escalation as the heart prepares a cataclysmic retaliation. The core of oaths pulsed violently, each beat echoing like the heartbeat of a god forged from Ichor, shadow, and memory. The chamber quaked under the pressure, its geometry bending impossibly. Floors tilted, walls stretched, and shadows pooled into impossible corners. Fused echoes surged in grotesque multiplicity, their limbs twisted into shapes that mocked anatomy and reason alike. The heart of oaths was no longer testing. It was asserting absolute dominion. Mero's voice trembled over the comms. Sergeant, the core is restructuring. It's fusing every layer of shadow, every echo, every psychic projection, into a single, larger gestalt. It's preparing a final convergence. I swallowed, gripping my bolter, muscles taut. Then we face it fully. Synchronize. Observation first, deliberate action second. Every heartbeat, every breath, every step counts. Discipline above all else. Garen's eyes were hollow pools of terror. It's inside me, inside all of us. It knows every fear, every doubt, every sin, and it's shaping itself from them. The first assault began. Fused constructs lunged from impossible angles, limbs integrated with bolters and sinew, eyes glowing void-like. Shadows coiled around them like living armor. The pulse of the core accelerated, warping perception and reality simultaneously. Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers, his hands trembling. The destabilization is working, but every strike, every adjustment, every movement feeds it more data. It adapts instantly. One misstep, and we're gone. I barked orders. Advance deliberately. Observe first. Minimal movement. Faith over fear. The kill team moved as one, synchronized perfectly, each step measured, each breath a calculated shield against the heart's psychic barrage. The core pulsed again. Black ichor writhed like serpents. Fused echoes converged into monstrous amalgams, and shadows spread into impossible geometries. The chamber seemed alive, sentient, reacting instantaneously to our movements and our hesitation. Garen staggered. Sergeant, it's shaping my faith, my thoughts, my memories. It's rewriting me from the inside. I placed a hand on his shoulder, firm. Discipline, observation, faith. You are stronger than it expects. We are stronger together. Synchronize. Mero struck the fissure again. A pulse of destabilization energy tore through the core. Shadows recoiled, fused echoes faltered, and for a brief moment, the heart seemed vulnerable. But the reprieve was fleeting. The core retaliated violently, projecting waves of psychic energy that fractured perception, twisted space, and accelerated the convergence of echoes. Fused constructs surged from every corner. Shadows formed impossible angles, and psychic resonance pressed against our minds with unbearable force. I barked orders, voice steady despite the chaos. Synchronize, step by step, observation first, faith as armor, discipline as weapon. The kill team moved as one, a single organism of coordinated faith and precision. Every brother mirrored the others perfectly, each movement calculated to resist the heart's predictive assault. The first direct confrontation with the core's gestalt began. A massive fused construct, limbs twisting in impossible angles, bolter integrated into sinew, eyes glowing void-like, surged forward. Shadows coiled around it, extending like serpents. I fired measured bolter bursts, controlling its motion rather than destroying it. Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers, sending pulses that further destabilized the heart. The construct reacted, but our synchronization countered its predictions. Garen held his breath, muscles taut. Sergeant, I feel connected, like I can resist it, like I can guide it. I nodded. Focus, faith, discipline. We are more than it anticipates. Move together, survive together. The core pulsed violently. Shadows erupted into impossible geometries. Fused echoes converged from multiple angles, and psychic energy threatened to overwhelm us. Yet the kill team pressed forward, synchronized to the pulse. Observation first, deliberate action second. Faith and discipline as weapons. The fissure's destabilization energy struck at the heart's epicenter. Black ichor recoiled. Fused echoes fragmented, shadows convulsed, and for the first time, the core pulsed in hesitation. Mero shouted above the psychic cacophony, voice strained, but resolute. It's working! Keep moving. Synchronize. Push forward. We advanced, step by deliberate step, synchronized perfectly. The core attempted to manipulate perception, distort reality, and exploit our faith and doubt. Yet our discipline held. Every brother's mind, body, and faith aligned to resist. A massive fused gestalt surged, combining multiple echoes into a nightmarish paragon of the heart itself. It moved with impossible speed, limbs twisting, bolters firing integrated rounds of ichor and psychic energy radiating in waves. I barked orders. Focus! Minimal movement, observation, faith, discipline, duty above all. The core shrieked, a psychic scream that reverberated through the chamber and our minds. Shadows convulsed violently, fused echoes struck from multiple directions, and black ichor lashed out like whips. Every instinct screamed for panic, but we held, step by step, breath by breath, synchronized to the pulse. Mero delivered a final strike to the fissure. A shockwave of destabilization energy tore through the core. Shadows recoiled violently, fused echoes shattered, and psychic resonance fractured the chamber. For a suspended moment, the heart of oaths quivered, truly vulnerable for the first time. We advanced to the epicenter. The core throbbed, writhing, pulsing in response to every breath, every heartbeat, every act of faith. The chamber had become a crucible, testing every ounce of discipline, faith, and cohesion. The heart's final retaliation surged. Massive fused constructs, psychic waves, and shadow forms combined into one apocalyptic assault. Yet we moved as one. Faith and discipline were shields, observation and synchronization were weapons. I barked the final order. Advance! Synchronize! Faith and discipline above all. We survive together. Cliffhanger. The heart of oaths is destabilized by the fissure, but its final counterattack merges shadows, fused echoes, and psychic energy into a catastrophic gestalt. The kill team must endure the most extreme psychic and physical assault yet, with survival and faith hanging by the thinnest thread. The core of oaths pulsed violently, each beat echoing like the heartbeat of a god forged from ichor, shadow, and memory. The chamber quaked under the pressure, its geometry bending impossibly. Floors tilted, walls stretched, and shadows pooled into impossible corners. Fused echoes surged in grotesque multiplicity, their limbs twisted into shapes that mocked anatomy and reason alike. The heart of oaths was no longer testing, it was asserting absolute dominion. Mero's voice trembled over the comms. Sergeant, the core is restructuring. It's fusing every layer of shadow, every echo, every psychic projection, into a single, larger gestalt. It's preparing a final convergence. I swallowed, gripping my bolter, muscles taut. Then we face it fully. Synchronize. Observation first, deliberate action second. Every heartbeat, every breath, every step counts. Discipline above all else. Garen's eyes were hollow pools of terror. It's inside me, inside all of us. It knows every fear, every doubt, every sin, and it's shaping itself from them. The first assault began. Fused constructs lunged from impossible angles, limbs integrated with bolters and sinew, eyes glowing void-like. Shadows coiled around them like living armor. The pulse of the core accelerated, warping perception and reality simultaneously. Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers, his hands trembling. The destabilization is working, but every strike, every adjustment, every movement feeds it more data. It adapts instantly. One misstep, and we're gone. I barked orders. Advance deliberately. Observe first. Minimal movement. Faith over fear. The kill team moved as one, synchronized perfectly, each step measured, each breath a calculated shield against the heart's psychic barrage. The core pulsed again. Black ichor writhed like serpents, fused echoes converged into monstrous amalgams, and shadows spread into impossible geometries. The chamber seemed alive, sentient, reacting instantaneously to our movements and our hesitation. Garen staggered. Sergeant, it's shaping my faith, my thoughts, my memories. It's rewriting me from the inside. I placed a hand on his shoulder, firm. Discipline, observation, faith. You are stronger than it expects. We are stronger together. Synchronize. Mero struck the fissure again. A pulse of destabilization energy tore through the core. Shadows recoiled, fused echoes faltered, and for a brief moment, the heart seemed vulnerable. But the reprieve was fleeting. The core retaliated violently, projecting waves of psychic energy that fractured perception, twisted space, and accelerated the convergence of echoes. Fused constructs surged from every corner. Shadows formed impossible angles, and psychic resonance pressed against our minds with unbearable force. I barked orders, voice steady despite the chaos. Synchronize, step by step, observation first, faith as armor, discipline as weapon. The kill team moved as one, a single organism of coordinated faith and precision. Every brother mirrored the others perfectly, each movement calculated to resist the heart's predictive assault. The first direct confrontation with the core's gestalt began. A massive fused construct, limbs twisting in impossible angles, bolter integrated into sinew, eyes glowing void-like, surged forward. Shadows coiled around it, extending like serpents. I fired measured bolter bursts, controlling its motion rather than destroying it. Mero adjusted the fissure stabilizers, sending pulses that further destabilized the heart. The construct reacted, but our synchronization countered its predictions. Garen held his breath, muscles taut. Sergeant, I feel connected, like I can resist it, like I can guide it. I nodded. Focus, faith, discipline. We are more than it anticipates. Move together, survive together. The core pulsed violently. Shadows erupted into impossible geometries. Fused echoes converged from multiple angles, and psychic energy threatened to overwhelm us. Yet the kill team pressed forward, synchronized to the pulse. Observation first, deliberate action second. Faith and discipline as weapons. The fissure's destabilization energy struck at the heart's epicenter. Black ichor recoiled. Fused echoes fragmented, shadows convulsed, and for the first time the core pulsed in hesitation. Mero shouted above the psychic cacophony, voice strained but resolute. It's working! Keep moving! Synchronize! Push forward! We advanced, step by deliberate step, synchronized perfectly. The core attempted to manipulate perception, distort reality, and exploit our faith and doubt. Yet our discipline held. Every brother's mind, body, and faith aligned to resist. A massive fused gestalt surged, combining multiple echoes into a nightmarish paragon of the heart itself. It moved with impossible speed, limbs twisting, bolters firing integrated rounds of ichor and psychic energy, radiating in waves. I barked orders, focus, minimal movement, observation, faith, discipline, duty above all. The core shrieked, a psychic scream that reverberated through the chamber and our minds. Shadows convulsed violently, fused echoes struck from multiple directions, and black ichor lashed out like whips. Every instinct screamed for panic, but we held. Step by step, breath by breath, synchronized to the pulse. Mero delivered a final strike to the fissure. A shockwave of destabilization energy tore through the core. Shadows recoiled violently, fused echoes shattered, and psychic resonance fractured the chamber. For a suspended moment, the heart of oaths quivered, truly vulnerable for the first time. We advanced to the epicenter. The core throbbed, writhing, pulsing in response to every breath, every heartbeat, every act of faith. The chamber had become a crucible, testing every ounce of discipline, faith, and cohesion. The heart's final retaliation surged, massive fused constructs, psychic waves, and shadow forms combined into one apocalyptic assault. Yet we moved as one. Faith and discipline were shields, Observation and synchronization were weapons. I barked the final order. Advance! Synchronize! Faith and discipline above all. We survived together. Cliffhanger. The Heart of Oaths is destabilized by the fissure, but its final counterattack merges shadows, fused echoes, and psychic energy into a catastrophic gestalt. The kill team must endure the most extreme psychic and physical assault yet, with survival and faith hanging by the thinnest thread.